rock fight where we speak our truth, slay sacred cows, and sometimes agree to disagree. This is an outdoor podcast that aims for the head. I'm Colin True, and joining me today, every time Laird opens a new store, you can find a Justin store right next door. It's Justin Hausman.
I used to cover Laird a lot when I worked as a surfer because it's just low-hanging fruit's pretty fun. But I felt guilty toward the end of my surfer tenure because, like, there's no reason to make fun of Laird. Like, the dude's fucking awesome. Like, he's really nice. Like,
he really is awesome.
He's an incredible surfer. He's actually, like, really generous with his time and just a really generally nice person. So, like, it's like, why are we making fun of him because he's buff? It's such a weird thing. Anyway, Laird. Why are we talking about Laird? What did he do?
Yeah, we're going to get there yet. We're not there yet. So today on the show, we're, of course, going to rip through some headlines that come out of the outdoor industry and community from the past week, including some news about Justin's favorite surfer, Laird Hamilton. But before we get to that, man, we made it to Friday. We're recording this on Friday, November 3rd. The weekend has arrived. That means it's time for America's favorite podcast segment. What is Justin doing this weekend? So, Justin, what are you doing this weekend?
Sitting. I hope.
Sitting?
God willing. God willing, sitting.
Do you think Halloween takes it out of you before the weekend arrives? That's kind of
It does when it's like in the middle of the week.
Right?
I mean, this is still kind of new to me. I mean, my oldest kid's 4, so like I'm still just kind of getting all this under my. But like, holy smokes, man! You know, it's like there's a Halloween thing the next town over on the Friday before Halloween, so it's
gotta go do that.
Was essentially a week.
Yeah. And no days off.
There was like a Saturday night thing for some reason, like at another neighborhood party. And then like Sunday, we carved pumpkins. And then it's like Monday, I don't know. So that's why hopefully this weekend, I'm not doing anything. I don't know. Maybe get in the water. It would be nice to get a surf.
Get a little something relaxing, yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck, man.
Time changes, too.
Time changes. It's funny you mentioned the Halloween being tiring. Like I said to my oldest daughter, I'm like, Thanksgiving is a little sneaky underrated as maybe the best holiday
because easily my favorite. No question,
right,
my favorite.
Halloween's great. It's chaos for a month to the final week, and there's a lot going on, and no days off from school. It's just like, no, just work this into your schedule. Yeah. Christmas, you get time off, but it's still gifts and planning and all sorts of stuff and mailing stuff, and then Christmas morning itself, you're sitting there, and it's still chaotic, and then you got to clean it up, and it's the whole thing. But Thanksgiving's just like, hey, man, you got a week off. Wake up, eat
football
a bunch of
football on every day.
Oh, that's great. I can't wait for Thanksgiving.
Weather's always usually good. At least. Yeah.
Well, excellent segue back to, what is Justin doing this weekend has been brought to you by Long Weekend Coffee. With 4 varieties of beans, Long Weekend is the perfect coffee for your next adventure, not just on the weekend, but any day of the week. At thelongweekend.coffee, enter the promo code ROCK10 and get 10% off of your first order. Long Weekend Coffee. More weekend, please. Well, first story we're going to talk about today is the federal closure of Moab trails. On September 28th, the Bureau of Land Management Moab Field Office announced a new travel management plan for public off-highway vehicle use, including passenger vehicles. The move would close about 317 miles of Utah trails to motorized vehicles. The decision led to widespread outrage from the off-roading community. In terms of its density, it's the single largest closure on the onX off-road app. I'm not familiar with that, but I'm assuming that's a big deal. Since it was released in 2019, roads in Hajo Canyon, 10 Mile Wash, Dead Cow, and the Hell Roaring Canyon are now closed to anything with a motor, including e-bikes. So this will affect hikers and mountain bikers who are going to have a harder time reaching trailheads. Joe Reese of onX was quoted as saying, Moab has become an iconic off-roading mecca. These trails are loved by this community, and this is where it hits home, but it also creates access problems for everyone. Most people don't understand that. I'm a little torn on this one. This is one of those, the headline makes me be like, all right, great. But then also I've been to Moab. I was actually in Moab on Jeep weekend once, and it's like, this is a really big community there. I don't know. What's your take on this?
My personal thing is I have a 4-wheel drive truck with big AT tires and off-road shocks and recovery equipment and stuff like that. It's all that you can't see. I'm not one of these people who like bolt every possible piece of off-road equipment to the outside of their car, but that's another topic. Because I like to get to places. Like I don't care about I don't particularly enjoy. I mean, I guess off-roading is kind of fun, I guess, but like that's not why I have that. I have that so I can get to somewhere that's cool, right? Like,
right.
So to me, most of the stuff in Moab is like people that are like driving off-road for the purpose of driving off-road. Like there's all kinds of like rock climbing and with a car, rock crawling,
Right,
stuff
right.
that you do out there. Now, the reason I say all that is because I mean one of the issues that the off-road community faces is that there are plenty of people who are like me, who are like dedicated, like leave no trace backcountry people who use a vehicle to get to places that are otherwise really hard to get to because they're so fucking far away.
Right.
Okay. But very conscientious and very aware of their impact, blah, blah, blah. And but that's the minority as far as I can tell when I'm out and seeing stuff. There are plenty more people who cruise out there with with the Polaris side by side on a trailer. And as soon as they hit the dirt, just rip shit up, and that seems to be most people as far as I can tell. So I don't know. Like, I mean, one of the things that like, if one of the things I really liked when I went out to test drive the brand new Ford Broncos a couple years back, courtesy of Ford's off-rodeo, that is what they call it, like kind of off-road training and like basically they have a program for anyone who buys the Bronco. You can go out and kind of learn what it's about, and the first thing they tell you is don't be an idiot. These areas will get closed. So like you got to leave no trace. You don't go driving off established like paths. Don't go driving through virgin desert. Like they even talked about God, I'm forgetting what it's the desert crust. What is that called? Cryptobiotic soil. Anyway, they talked about that and how like it might just look like dirt, but it's not. And all these things, and their whole reasoning was that if the federal land management agencies see that like off-roaders are tearing places up, they're going to close it. So I have to assume that's what's happened here. I have to assume that.
I mean, it's definitely. So I just found in the article, BLM announced the trail closures. It says that the wilderness advocates celebrated it. It says that they say it will protect cultural sites, river habitats, and the experience of non-motorized recreationists.
Well, that's the other part too.
So visitors will finally be able to experience stunning Labyrinth Canyon without the noise, dust, and damage that accompanies motorized recreation. For too long, the BLM has prioritized off-road vehicle use at the expense of Utah's incredible natural and cultural resources. Yeah, you know
what? I support it. I do. Like, there's really no justification for driving off-road. I mean, as much as I like doing it,
I don't know.
There's not a lot of justification. I mean, if people are sticking to established trails that are already have ruined whatever is there, and that's all they do, that's different. But that's not really what happens. People like to see what their rigs can do. They like to drive to new places. They get wild. And the desert is a very slow recovering place.
That is true.
Very slow recovering place. So I don't, I don't think we have like a fundamental right to be able to drive a vehicle wherever we want. These places are accessible by foot and by horse and by regular bike. Like at a certain point, we don't get to have everything that we want.
I agree with that. I'm not a motorized sport person. I've had friends who ride dirt bikes and do these things, and I've definitely gone biking and cycling, hiking and running and cycling in places where people were out on dirt bikes. And overall, my experience has been positive even with those people. Usually they understand they're on a multi-use trail. They pull aside. They do those things. They're being as respectful as possible. I guess, yeah, there's definitely my gut is the same as yours of like, yeah, I'd rather protect it. I was kind of hoping there'd be like, this area has been, needs to recover, so we're closing it down, and that's why. The fact that it's a little more, this is where I start to side a little bit more with the motorized vehicle folks, because I also know that wilderness advocates, again, they still don't allow for mountain biking in these places, and it's just kind of like where they would rather almost have nobody go and experience these places.
Oh, they probably would. They probably would prefer that,
right?
And I get that too. My experience has not been the same as yours.
Okay,
with OHV areas. I mean, generally speaking, if I'm driving trying to find a place for dispersed camping, if I see a truck with a trailer on it that clearly either has or had side-by-sides, I'm leaving and I'm not going anywhere near that zone because they're going to be loud. I mean, these things are fucking loud. They, the people that driving them like to get loud. I mean, again, I'm being generalist here, and I'm sorry if I'm offending someone that's listening. But
they left plenty of places where you can still go. Like, when we were in the San Rafael Swell this past spring, there were plenty. There's a lot of double tracks. There's a lot of people out there in the Polaris. They're really. It almost seems like those roads are more built for this kind of activity. Even than you wouldn't. It's not the place where you're like, oh, let's go hike down that road because it looks like a road. So I get it.
Something like a Polaris, for example, it's not like it's designed to get you from one place to another quietly and slowly. Like they are meant to rip, and like
Sure.
the only times I've been like scared, like, oh, I'm going to get in an accident or something bad's going to happen to me is because of someone driving a side by side.
Yeah.
A lot of the Forest Service roads I like to drive in the Sierra, there aren't a lot of that there. It's nothing like in Utah. But I never see a dude in a Tacoma like fishtailing around a corner at like 50 miles an hour, almost running me off the road. That happens with Polaris kind of a lot.
Right. That makes sense.
So that's the thing is it's like as soon as I see trucks with those trailers, okay, I'll go somewhere else because I don't want to be around that.
I think this is the same problem as a lot of other things though, where they don't give you enough information, right? Because like I said, I've been in Moab. I was there on a mountain biking trip on Jeep weekend, and it's overrun. Like, I mean, it is clearly an important economical event, right, for Moab.
Yeah,
right?
That's obviously very true.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna do this, it's like, well, we close these trails, and then SUA is like, woo, yeah, we close it down. It's like, well, hold on, like, what is your plan? If it's like, hey, we recognize the importance of the off-road community, we're reserving these trails to that legacy, and you still should come to Moab and blah, 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 but we really want to protect this area for these activities specifically because it kind of leaves all this open to these conversations. Because I agree, like, again, if you said make a decision, I would side with the human-powered side, right? Just like, okay, well, screw it. And part of that is because I don't do that other thing. So I don't know. It just feels like just another situation where I wish they would given us more information.
Well, I haven't heard of those places, and I have heard of lots of other places that you can drive around Moab. So that might be an indication that these aren't like the classic off-roading places that people go to.
Sure.
So that could be the case. It's worth mentioning that like Moab has a lot of like off-road rental places, and like stuff like this would obviously hurt their business. But at the same time, like I don't know. It's like maybe that's okay. Like I don't know. I mean, it's like same thing that like when they close, it's like when you close like fisheries, it's like fishermen get mad and like people lose their livelihood. It's like, well, all right, but
I know we shouldn't burn coal anymore.
Right? So I don't know. To me, it's like I'm a hypocrite. I have a truck, but like everybody's a hypocrite. Deal with it, like I've had shit taken away from me that I wanted to do. I can't ride a fucking mountain bike anywhere I want in Marin County.
Yeah, that's way more ridiculous than anything we're talking about now.
So it's like, I'm not like out here getting to do whatever I want and saying you shouldn't get to do what you want. I can't do most of the things I want to do around here.
I'm going to go visit the birthplace of mountain biking. We'll make sure you bring your road bike.
Exactly. So it's like, well, we all deal with what we deal with,
Yeah, come on, man. BLM, hire a better PR agency then to kind of explain it a little bit better to the world, I guess. But
or also, I should do my homework because I mean, it's entirely possible that I'd like really get into this and be like, oh, these assholes. I have no idea.
I think we probably covered it. I don't think there's probably that much more. Again, if you're a member of SUA, if you're a member of the BLM and you want to come on and talk to us about it, we'd love to have you. So send something to myrockfight@gmail.com. Next story we talked about in the open. Laird Apparel, which is the new high-performance activewear and lifestyle brand inspired by legendary fitness power couple Laird Hamilton and Gabby Reese, opened their first location in Southern California's Manhattan Beach. In an interview with Shop Surf Eat, Laird CEO Jennifer Arache said, "We have been so fortunate to build a brand that has drawn inspiring athletes and adventurers from around the world, from professional volleyball players to surfers to martial artists to lifeguards to rugby players. We will now have a clubhouse of sorts for them to congregate and share their projects and passions for fitness and adventure." Which, to your point at the beginning, I don't want to shit on Laird. Laird's pretty awesome. But I looked at the line. If you go to their website, I do not see any difference between Laird or Rhone or Vuari or Lululemon or chunks of Under Armour's line. Like, do we really need another athletic lifestyle brand? And if so, do we need it from Laird and Gabby? I don't know.
Laird for a while was, I thought for sure this would be much more like Ocean this is like, all the models look like they're, either at lunch or about to go to lunch at like a really expensive seafood place in Orange County.
Well, they are opening at Manhattan Beach.
I thought this would be way more like outdoor oriented. I suppose there is. Let me look at some of the performers. Stuff.
I'm sure that they were pitched on this. So like, we're going to start a lifestyle brand for you, and we just want to take pictures of you and name it after you. And like, I get it.
Laird's not even on the homepage, by the way.
Yeah, you got to go to the About Us page. Yeah, I don't know.
Inspired by, not even. I wonder if it's even owned by. I bet they just licensed his name. Whatever. I mean,
I was just hoping there'd be something
brand.
Interesting. Like, I mean, I expected it to be some stuff. I thought we'd click on it and be like, oh, this is the surf model this or whatever that is a little bit more like the connection back to Laird and Gabby. To your point, they seem like they've been great ambassadors for the active lifestyle space. Who's you can't really, how can you shit on Laird after what he's accomplished from his his Waterman lifestyle, all that? You can't. So it's just put this next to Roan and tough time telling the difference.
I feel like Laird would have something to say. Like I feel like Laird is a personality. So like I'm surprised there aren't things on here about like how this will make you better at things. This actually looks like a pretty sloppy effort.
To your point, then
honest.
Maybe it is just a licensing deal. Be interesting to see how this plays out. Our next story again comes from, we saw it on Gearjunkie. Gearjunkie published a "What You Need to Know" article this week for the murder trial of pro cyclist Mo Wilson that started this week. I'm not going to recap the grisly details here. You definitely added this to the outline. I'll let you take it from here. Why did you want to put this on our outline today?
Well, I don't know. This has been kind of a thing for me ever since I heard about it. Like, I just don't see why this is an outdoor enthusiast story. I mean, it's baffled to me. Like, there's a controversial article in Outside a few months back that kind of I don't even know how to describe it. Did you read the article?
I read the article. It seemed like the criticism was because the author was close with the victim or the accused.
The accused. But
yeah.
also it made it, well, so if you don't know the story, this was a competitive like gravel cyclist, I think she was.
Yeah.
Who was murdered by a ex-girlfriend?
Ex-girlfriend, yeah. It was a jealousy over a boyfriend thing.
Yeah. And it was a huge splash. The Outside article, I think, was criticized fairly heavily because it almost made it was like unnecessarily detailed in like some of the sexual descriptions
and somewhat apologetic. I feel like for some of the
very apologetic, yeah. And so I thought the article was pretty horrific too. But it's also like more horrific is that it was a giant feature in Outside magazine. I mean, like it just doesn't. I guess this seems like an example of like outdoor media being like starved for stories, and this seems like a clickbaity one, or like a if it bleeds it leads kind of a thing.
It's 100% that, because it's none of this is related to anything going on in the events that these people participated in.
Absolutely not. They happen to also like to ride bikes. 80% of Americans have a bike in their garage. Like, it's not a thing. Like it's a wild thing to make into an outdoor story.
If tragedy befell a famous rock climber while they were rock climbing, that's a story. That's an outdoor story. This poor woman was murdered. This person who did it clearly has issues. She's fled the country, all these things. I don't like the phrase "what you need to know." This implies like this is the OJ trial that I'm going to be paying attention to for the next 6 weeks. It's like, no, I don't need to know anything. The judge needs to know and the jury needs to know, and that's it.
I guess like no. See, that's the thing is I don't know. I hate that any trial is sensationalized.
That's a good point too.
I mean, people are murdered every day. Like this isn't unique. This isn't a. We don't need to. Frankly, we don't need to read about death in the. I mean, if you want to write a story about death in the backcountry for like generally speaking, great, do that. There's plenty. But like, I don't understand why anytime somebody falls off a mountain, it's a story, or time someone like drowns in it's like so often. Oh, someone was eaten by a bear. Somebody got lost and died. Somebody fell off of the trail in Death Valley, and it's like front page news on all these outdoor sites. Why?
It's exactly the reason why we started doing this show. I think you guys follow the same opinions at Adventure Journal. It's everything in the outdoors is either tragedy, overcoming the odds, or gear, and it's like those are like the three main things you see stories on. And I think, look, just pass it. Say, we weren't going to talk about this one. We didn't talk last week. What was it we didn't talk about last week? Oh, the Smith Rock. The guy who brought a bunch of guns to Smith Rock, planning to kill people there. It's the same thing. I don't care if he was a climber. It's like, no, we don't need to talk about that. We talked about the grizzly bear thing up in Banff. And that was more of a conversation around our personal experiences, like how we want to engage with that.
Are you comfortable with bears and things? Right. That's an immovable force of nature that's going to be there no matter what, not like a murderer.
We're not sitting there like, did you hear about, let me tell you about the person that killed and they made a mistake. Like, just no. Like that was a tragic thing that happened. That can happen when you go outside, so we want to talk about this. This just feels, I also
dirty. Feel like the Outside article pissed people off, rightfully so, because it's like, that Mo Wilson isn't around anymore to talk about her relationship with this guy.
Yeah.
So it's like the last thing if God forbid, and I mean, I've already established this is impossible, but God forbid if I was to be murdered or died in some way, and someone is like airing my laundry about like how I met my wife or
Right.
our relationship status or our sex life or something, that's awful.
Yeah.
You know, like
It
we
is.
don't need to know any details about this woman. None. It's none of our business. She didn't sign off on this.
No, I
So
think the most you do
that's
here,
my problem
you
with
let it play out. Maybe you mention it when we have a final verdict. Be like, hey, just in cycling news, this came to an end. Here's what it is. Just let the facts stand for themselves. I really didn't like the what you need to know part of this. And that might be a small thing, but it just felt gross that you're so interested. So let me make sure to remind you of all the grisly facts before this thing gets started. The only trial I'm interested in this year is one of Donald Trump's 800 trials because I want to see that guy get punished. Other than that, I'm not interested in anybody's trial. All right, let's move along to something a little bit more silly. The Columbia this week launched, I think it was this week. Columbia has launched the Skywalker Pilot Collection.
They do this. Columbia does this, You've seen this before. They've done Star Wars before.
They have. It's this one is a 9-piece assortment of Star Wars themed products that make you look like you're cosplaying. I personally hate shit like this. If you look at it, it looks like you can look like Luke Skywalker flying an X-wing pilot.
They did do a really, I will say, as a old school Star Wars fan, they did a pretty good job with the aesthetics.
Okay, fine.
Like the hip pack looks kind of beat up and dirty, and it has like the right buttons on it. Like that's cool.
If you're gonna do it to this level. But does this make you want to go skiing more or less?
Well, why would you release this now? Like, why would you release this in freaking I guess because you can't ski at Halloween. But this is a good Halloween. This is wonderful for Halloween.
It should have been a September
lot of good
release.
Star Wars costumes that I saw.
Yeah.
For Halloween. Can you fathom wearing this?
No, and I say that for 2 reasons. 1, I never would. 2, can we talk about Star Wars for a second? Because Star Wars fucking sucks. All right, I question the taste of anyone who buys this and wants to support it because before Star Wars kind of sucked, but we all agreed that it was just fun anyway. Now it legitimately sucks.
It really does. I mean, I guess like I think it was last year that it made the Han Solo jacket from Hoth.
Okay. That's a little almost like
I
Canada
maybe wear
Goose.
that.
Yeah, that's because that straddles the line, right? That's almost just like a big parka.
Well, because who doesn't deeply want to be Han Solo on Hoth?
Yeah,
I mean, if I riding a fucking tauntaun around in that sweet jacket, like no one's ever been as handsome, no one's ever been as cool as the opening 20 minutes of Empire Strikes Back with Han Solo, or whatever, opening 40 minutes.
That's
Nothing
like a fur-lined, parka that they probably just put a couple patches on, right? That makes it look like, this is the cool rebellion jacket. This thing this year is like, you want to fly a fucking X-Wing in an orange jumpsuit. And I liken these things too. So after we saw the Barbie movie this summer, my kids are like, oh, we need to get those I'm Knuff shirts, the tie-dyed Knuff shirts. Did you see that he's wearing that? Have you seen Barbie yet?
Like I'm enough Ken
Knuff,
I get it. No,
right.
I haven't seen it
He
yet.
has it on at the end. It's very funny. And of course, for the last 2 months, they've been everywhere. And I'm like, don't do that because here's what's going to happen. You think it's really fun. You're going to get it. You're going to wear it to school and 3 other kids are going to have it on and you're going to feel like a loser. So if you're the guy or gal who buys this collection and then shows up at the ski resort, I don't think there's high fives going around. I think you feel like you're self-conscious about it. What's the likelihood this thing sells out and justifies the expense and impact on the earth it took to make it?
I would say better than you. Well, nothing will justify that, but I would say better than you would think.
You're probably right.
Star Wars collectors are out there.
Guys, we got to stop with Star Wars. Like, I get it's part of your childhood. There's things I like. I liked the Flash Gordon movie when I was 9 years old. You know what? It's a piece of shit. Let's move on.
Okay, if you were at Mammoth, I don't know where you go skiing. If you go skiing, so say you're at Mammoth, right, and you see like an adult man dressed like an X-wing pilot on the lift, or it's après time, you're in the lodge or whatever, and you see an adult man bust out of his pocket some like Star Wars action figure and play with it just to himself quietly on the table. Which are you more inclined to like judge harshly? I'll tell you right now, it's the wearing the jumpsuit.
Me too.
If a dude busted out with like a little fucking X-wing, it was just like, like on his beer, I'd be like, this guy's probably pretty cool. I'm into this.
Or he's got some issues that I don't know about.
Well, or yeah, that's fine. Either way,
100% the jumpsuit. I also am not a fan of like the throwback days when everyone goes and puts a wig on and wears like 80s style like ski gear. and then they post pictures about it. I hate all that kind of stuff. I'm not a fan
You know
of that kind of
what's deeply unfair though is like if like I'm sure. So, I mean, I don't know. I've never seen like a Star Wars wetsuit. I'm sure someone's fucked around with that. I've seen like Darth Vader stuff like on Christmas or whatever. People or May the 4th, people will like surf a tiny wave in a Darth Vader costume. But like, if that dude got off the ski lift and just absolutely shredded or whatever skiers call it,
yeah,
then it's cool, and that sucks. It's not fair. Like if a rando is gonna wear like a Luke Skywalker outfit and ski, you're like, come on, bro. But if you know, some dude gets off and is just absolutely murdering it, you're like, oh, that guy's rad.
You know,
what a cool guy.
You're not wrong, and I think you just helped me get to the bottom of why I hate this so much. It's because it's the Columbia part of it. Because if there was just some guy, if you and I were at Mammoth, and some dudes up there dressed like Luke Skywalker or Darth Vader, I'd be like, "Fuck, that's awesome, good for you, man." But the fact that I can go to like REI and get my Luke Skywalker kit, and then show up with the other like 2 Luke Skywalkers that are gonna be in the mountain, I'm like, nah, that's not cool.
I guess it feels a little like. Do you guys have SantaCon in San Diego?
I don't know if they've said. Oh, is it SantaCon in New York? Isn't that the whole thing with SantaCon?
Well, it's in San Francisco, big time.
Oh,
I think it's a lot of big cities
when it's
now.
It's like a whole debauch.
It kind of feels like that to a certain degree to me. It's like everybody, you can just run out and buy your. But they probably only make like 30 of those suits. Well, it's not like Columbia's making a shitload of them.
If that's the case, that's even better. Then I'd be like, okay, I might buy one to be one of the 30 people who gets one, right? Yeah. But it's ugly sweaters. Same thing for years.
God, how would you decide? You've worked in the apparel industry. How would you decide how many to make if you're Columbia? You're like, all right, we're gonna make this Han Solo jacket.
I think it's probably what was the thing that we just talked about where it's like they probably made it was the Crocs cowboy boot.
Oh yeah.
It probably was very cost intensive. They also made it not care. Like, we're just going to do this. That's a good point. How many did they make? I'm curious.
Those are things that are probably like excellent gifts. Not like for you to buy your friends, but like if you're Columbia, it's probably cool to have those around because you can give them to people to be stoked.
That's how they should do it. It should honestly be like they should create some demand. Maybe there is. I should look into it. Maybe there's only like 10 that you can get, and then that'd be kind of cool because it is the ugly sweater is the same thing. For you would have an ugly sweater contest. So you have to go like to Goodwill to find your ugly sweater. Now everyone just makes ugly sweaters. It's not fun anymore.
It's like uglysweaters.com, I guarantee, is a website.
100%. And it's intentional. So it's like it's not as cool as it used to be. So commercialism just ruined everything.
I wonder if Columbia gets paid by Lucasfilm. Do they buy the license to it, or are they getting paid by Lucasfilm to do it?
They must have signed a good licensing deal.
Could be like a brilliant decision by Columbia.
Could be. That's a good point.
Of all the brands, though, that's the one that like kind of makes most sense.
If you were going to wear a themed thing,
yeah, that's going to like make it
right.
Like, yeah, all right,
yeah, that makes sense. Anyway, good luck with that, Columbia. Maybe next time we do this, we'll both have our Luke Skywalker costumes on. I mean, that's all I got for today. Anything else you want to talk about? Well, we're wrapping up AJ issue 31. I got to as soon as we're done with this, I got to start writing the little resources, the back of the books section. So all right, so AJ 31, you're doing work on that. When's that drop? Like a month? I think we print it in the next 2. We probably start printing it in like 2 weeks, right before Thanksgiving. All right, well, that's the show. Make sure you like, follow, and rate the show. Please do that, and send your feedback to myrockfight@gmail.com. We'll be back soon with more outdoor ideas at Aim for the Head, the Rock Fight. It's a production of Rock Fight LLC. For Justin Hausman, I'm Colin Truth. Thanks for listening, and like always, he's right here. He's just right here waiting for us to finish up. Krista Makes. He's going to sing the Rock Fight fight song right now. We'll see you next time.